Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Parker. I'm a member of the marketing team at the Perry Johnson Companies, and I'll be helping to facilitate today's webinar and offer support to our speakers. Today, we're welcoming a special guest, Jacqueline Southee.
All right, thank you very much. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Southee, for those of you that don't know me, and I represent FSSC 22000 in North America. I'm based on the East Coast, just outside of Washington, DC, and act as an interface between our stakeholders in the US, Canada, and our head office, which is based in the Netherlands. So as a part of the introduction, and for those of you that are not too familiar with FSSC, I will, so I can get the next slide to move on. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to provide an introduction to FSSC 22000 for those of you that are not too familiar with it. And we're going to talk about our new version, version 6, and why we've introduced version 6, what are the benefits, and what are the main changes. And then how we can support you, how we can work with PJR to support you as you upgrade from version 5.1 to version 6. So again, a little introduction to FSSC. So FSSC is a certification program, but it's owned by the foundation FSSC, which is an independent non-profit foundation. And that sets us a little bit apart from some of the other certification programs. We have a mission to provide trust and deliver impact to the consumer goods industry. So it's a little bit beyond just providing a certification program. We really do feel that we're in a good situation to, deliver impact and help industry be the best that they can. Now, we're governed by a board of stakeholders, which are selected from across the consumer goods industry, and they're supported by a committee of experts. And that allows us to sort of keep the scheme relevant, to meet industry's needs, and to provide, a world-class certification program. We also have a goal of helping industry to achieve the Global Sustainability Development Goals. So we have signed on to the UN Compact, and we believe that we can help through our position, working with our stakeholders in the industry. And we have a vision to make the world a better place. And I think that will be reflected in some of the changes that you see in version 6. So essentially, FSSC is a certification program, but it's more than that. It kind of provides a framework for a robust and effective food safety management system. It's based on the ISO management systems, which are risk-based. They're globally accepted. They're written by experts through consensus through the world, and they use a harmonized framework. And so in using a harmonized framework, they have a benefit to align with other management systems that are helping industry be the best that they can. They're science-based, they're developed by international experts, and we believe that in doing so provides a good, reliable framework for food safety management. FSSC is recognized by the GFSI, which adds additional value to having that ISO management system basis. And through our governance, we have a robust integrity program. And so that's a way of working with our licensed partners and certification bodies to ensure the security of our certification, providing a consensus around all certifications all over the world. We cover the food supply chain by virtue of the prerequisite programs, which are specified through the ISO management system. And this kind of reinforces a little bit about what I said and kind of provides a bird's eye view of how we work. Currently, we're about 33,000 certificates globally, and we operate those through our licensed partners, such as PJR. And the scheme has evolved from its initiation around about 2010, when we brought out the first version of FSSC 22000, and that's now evolved to version 6, which is what we're talking about today. We talked about the board of stakeholders who manages the foundation, or provides impact through the foundation, and we cover the globe, we cover the supply chain, and we cover the globe, and we have global representation, to help support our stakeholders throughout the world. So I might have my peers such as me in China, in Europe, India, Japan and Turkey, so that we provide an interface and hopefully provide a service, and in providing service, deliver the impact that is the mission of FSSC 22000. So going forward, what is version 6 and what are the benefits and why are we updating it? So a little reminder about FSSC 22000. So we have a three-part structure, if you like. So we have the framework of ISO 22000. So all certified organizations have to apply all the requirements of ISO 22000. That's a public standard, as we've mentioned. It's written by consensus and it's established. And then this is supported by the technical specifications, depending on what sector you are, whether you're in the manufacturing sector, food manufacturing, packaging manufacture, transport and storage. There's a specific prerequisite program that meets your additional requirement, that meets your specifications for that sector. And then we have the additional FSSC 22000 requirements. These are the ones that we have ownership of and that we have power over. We don't change ISO 22000 or the sector-specific prerequisite programs. They're obligated, they go through committee, through the ISO organization. We change the additional requirements, and it's the additional requirements that are now version 6. And these additional requirements provide our agility, if you like, for FSSC 22000 to update that management system framework of ISO. It also incorporates the governance in our integrity program to ensure consistency of certification, but it also provides what we call agility. So we can address emerging food safety issues that are brought to us by industry. We're market driven. And so as we see a need and we get feedback from our stakeholders, we can update those additional requirements. And that's what's updated in version 6. So ISO 22000 remains the same. The prerequisite program requirements stay the same. It's the additional requirements that have changed. And the main drivers, everybody's always asking us, why are we updating? You know, we've updated it frequently. We've gone, as I said, from version 1 to version 6. So why have we updated? So one of the key reasons for updating at this time was the revision of ISO 22003. ISO 22003 provides the requirements for certification, audits and accreditation. So as we are an ISO-based organization, we have to meet the requirements of ISO 22003. So we had to adjust FSSC to accommodate ISO 22003. And we also wanted to take the opportunity to add our impact in supporting organizations in helping them meet their own sustainability goals. So as we're rewriting the scheme, because we had to for 22000, we used the opportunity to add some additional sustainability objectives and also to add some refinements to editorial changes, part of our own continuous improvement, and also to help, we hope, make the scheme a little bit more understandable. And we did conduct, as I said, we are market driven. We do maintain contact with you as our stakeholders. And we had a survey. So some of the changes that you see incorporated were as a result of industry's feedback to us. So in monitoring industry's needs, we've met those, hopefully taking input from our stakeholders, an opportunity to improve and meet everybody's needs. So that's version 6. I know everybody thinks it's a burden to have to update again. We seem every time we have an audit, we have more requirements. Hopefully we are adding to the value of FSSC 22000. So what are the benefits of these changes? So as we talked about, you know, our vision to make the world a better place, we've incorporated, one of the key new changes was incorporation of requirements for monitoring and reducing food loss and waste. And again, we believe that that can help our stakeholders and our companies also contribute to their develop the sustainability goals. We've incorporated new quality control parameters, which we haven't done before, to support food safety and quality culture within all our companies, our certified companies. So as I said, we hope that we are helping support the companies in making them better. And in doing so, we've incorporated some added elements. From our point of view, to protect the security of our certificates, we've added a QR code to each certificate. We do want to maintain confidence in FSSC 22000, and so we have to ensure the security of the certificate. So if you receive a FSSC certificate from one of your suppliers, you need to be able to be sure that it is a genuine certificate. It's very sought after certification, so we want to cut down opportunities for fraud. So each FSSC 22000 certificate in version 6 will have a QR code which will take you directly to the register of certified organisations. We've also taken the opportunity to extend our scope, so we've added category F2 for trading and brokering. So a benefit of that is bringing more companies into our family and to be able to now have a certification for trading and brokers. And as I said, we've also taken the opportunity to add some detail into the scheme, which hopefully adds to better understanding of all the details, added some details, better understanding and appreciation for the scheme. So I'm going to go through some of the changes just to highlight them. This isn't a fully comprehensive review of all the changes. We do have support documents on the website. It's just really to alert you to some of the key changes. It's not a training webinar. It's not a technical webinar. It's just an overview. So you can follow up with more detail if I've raised questions in your mind and you want to have more detail. You can always send questions to me or to FSSC 22000 through the website. So the scheme documents are going to look a little bit different in version 6. We have 5 parts. We're no longer working to license our training organisations. So we have fewer parts. We have parts 1 to 5, and we've reduced the number of annexes. Most of the changes are in part 2, which are the requirements for organisations to be audited. And so those are the requirements that you need to look closely at, because those, if you're a certified organisation, are the ones that are going to most affect you. If you're looking to certification and you're going to be looking at certification next year, those are the requirements that you need to be concerned with. So these are really all the details of the FSSC 22000 additional requirements. In addition to these, we also have a Board of Stakeholders decisions list, which is on the website. So this adds sometimes some additional requirements, overrides existing requirements, and so that's another way of being able to keep the scheme very relevant and very up to date. So down to details, and some of the details may or may not affect everybody. So because of the alignment to ISO 22003, there's a little bit of an adjustment of the categories. This mainly adjusts the categorization of the registering on your certificate. It will also affect the competence of the auditor and the training required for a particular subcategory. But essentially, it's a way of refining the categories to add value and relevance to FSSC 22000. So then there's a new category brought out of category C for primary conversion, which covers slaughterhouse. That was previously included in C1. We've also added the category B3, which is pre-process handling of plant products in pack houses. That used to be included in C2, but now that's a specialist area. D2A and B for pet food are now included in category C, and that's really the main reason for that. We're taking it out of F for taking it out of D for animal feed is because pet food normally is handled within the home and often within the kitchen. So that's now included in C and certified under the manufacturing of food. We've added F2 as I mentioned on trading and broking, and we've removed a couple of categories. We've removed category A for farming. We had very few certificates in that category, so we believe they would be better served elsewhere. And we've also removed FSSC 22000 Q, or FSSC 22000 quality, which was an integrated certification program of ISO 22000 and ISO 9001 for quality. So we're no longer certifying under FSSCQ, but that is still possible. It's just that you will be, if you do currently have an FSSCQ certificate, you can still have an integrated audit. It's just that you will receive an FSSC 22000 certificate and an ISO 9001 certificate. So actually for you, it hasn't changed. Just for us, it's kind of cut down on some of the overhead of maintaining that as a standard. And often most people wanted the additional certificate of 9001 for other purposes. So in addition to the added elements, the added requirements that we talked about before, we've also increased or added some elements to existing requirements. And so these are really highlighted here. Again, we don't need to go into a whole load of detail in these, but just if any of these apply to you, then I would suggest you pay attention to the change document and review the requirements going forward. So we've added a requirement for the use of recycled packaging as a raw material impact. And that's a requirement under the management of services and purchased materials. And there's a need to have a risk assessment of that as a raw material in order to control the safety and quality of packaging, to avoid introducing chemical or food safety risk, maybe by sort of migrating chemicals if you're using recycled packaging. So recycled packaging has to be considered as a raw material and a risk assessment conducted as such. There's also a requirement for the control of claims on product label or packaging. And this relates to the use of labeling such as gluten-free, organic, or any nutritional claims. And if that is going to be put on your packet, then you have to retain evidence of verification of those claims relating to that label, so that you need to be able to verify and have retained evidence of that claim. We've also introduced or added some requirements for artwork management and print control, and that's just to ensure that the information on the label is correct. There are many recalls, as we know, due to incorrect labeling, and it now needs to be incorporated, the controls need to be incorporated into the food management system, and some checks to ensure that the information on that label is monitored and controlled. We've added food defense and food fraud requirements for suppliers under the trading and brokering application. It needs to make sure that any traders and brokers have to ensure that the suppliers that they're working with have food defense and food fraud mitigation management. We've also included or added more requirements for allergen management, hopefully partly to improve the implementation, but also to improve the understanding. So there is a need to have risk-based control management of allergens. Need to have a list of all the allergens that are on site. There's a requirement for training of personnel to be aware of the importance of allergens. Control measures on changeovers to ensure there's no cross-contamination, and also to review the labeling so that the labeling of controlling allergens is not a catch-all, and it's not just a precautionary labeling, it has to be accurate. And then finally, the environmental management. There's now a requirement for risk-based environmental monitoring program, again, which is included in the food management system. It has to be risk-based to consider, the pathogens or the spoilage organizations that may be an issue, and then the program needs to be reviewed at least annually and the trend analysis made. So that's really to make the environmental monitoring program useful, to have impact, to keep an eye on it, and not just to go through the processes. So we strengthened some requirements on tanker cleaning. So there's a need to ensure that tankers are clean and verification of the cleaning process. There's a added requirement for foreign matter control, A risk assessment needs to be made on if foreign matter is going to be an issue, and how you're controlling it, whether it's a metal detector, whether it's a sieve, and how you're using it, and verification for if you're not using a control, then why. Requirement for ongoing shelf life validation, so that becomes up to date, an annual review to make sure that that is still relevant, and also a validation of the cooking instructions on ready to cook products to make sure that they're understandable. So many of these changes, they're subtle, but they're specific, and hopefully they have impact to ensure that things that are not falling through the food safety management system. So these are the summary of the specific requirements that are now new. So these are the new additional requirements that are in part 2. We now have added a specific requirement on food safety and quality culture. We've got a requirement on quality control. We've got a requirement on equipment management and the hygiene design, the requirement for food loss and waste, and then a new requirement relating to communication. So the background behind these is the food safety and quality culture requirement is new. It is a new requirement, but the need for food safety and food safety culture is not new to FSSC. We're now implementing a food safety and quality culture because we're incorporating a requirement for quality, and we've addressed this as a specific requirement because in order to sort of make it easier for auditing and monitoring and identifying any non-conformities. So it means that the organisation needs to have a plan to establish, implement and maintain food safety, quality and culture, and to monitor it, to include some targets and to measure it. If you're measuring it, you can improve it. We haven't changed our approach to food safety culture that we had before. We still believe that the incorporation of a management system with all these required elements that are built in to ISO 22000, such as the need for communication, the need for training, the need for employer feedback and engagement, they're all still an integral part of the food safety management system. So we haven't changed our approach on that. We just believe that having this as a requirement is going to help monitor and audit and improve. The next element is the quality control. And again, this is new. And the main reason for including it is because we believe that they're closely linked to food safety in a manufacturing environment. It's not intended to replace a full ISO 9001 management system. It's just a supplement to the food safety assessment. But there is a need to pay attention to quality, to have some quality parameters defined, to have a way of monitoring them, to have a way of assessing the parameters, to ensure that methods of evaluation, such as weighing machines, such as viscosity machines, are monitored, to monitor the control through the startup and change procedures, and just to have general monitoring of the quality. It's not, as we said, a whole quality management system, but we believe it adds value added to FSSC certification, and it's really just to sort of ensure that products meet the applicable customer and legal requirements for quality, and a way of indeed monitoring other issues that could be related to safety, could be related to food fraud, and hopefully it's going to add value and appreciation to FSSC 22000 certification. The equipment management as well is just an expansion of what was already included in ISO 22000, but there is a need to ensure that the machinery is fit for purpose. So now organisations are required to to have specifications for the equipment, of new equipment, to make sure that they're fit for use, So the supplier needs to provide evidence of meeting the product specification prior to installation. And then there's also a need to sort of look at change management, to have a risk-based change management process if you're changing the use or changing over equipment, to make sure that it's fit for purpose and it doesn't impose a potential risk on your food safety management. The new requirement for the food loss and waste is something that we're quite excited about, because we believe that with our position of having 33 certifications worldwide, that we will be able to have some impact. And part of the reason for including the food loss and waste is part of our objective to support the sustainability goals, specifically indicator 12.3, and as part of our vision of creating a better world. So I think the estimate's currently about 40% food is lost within the process. And as we're looking at crises of food security, we have areas of the world that are struggling to be fed, that we believe that it is within our control, within our remit rather, to control food loss and waste. And so there is a need to have a documented policy and objectives to reduce food loss and waste. So the organisations have to be aware of it and monitor it in order to improve it. There's also controls to manage product donations to ensure that they don't provide or don't bring in the food safety risk. And there's a need to monitor the diversion of waste products to animal feed. So while we are encouraging the management of food loss and waste, of course, we need to ensure that it doesn't compromise food safety. But we believe that, if you're managing, many companies probably are already managing food loss and waste because it's an efficiency. But in order to once we start measuring it and monitoring it, we believe that we will all have the opportunity to improve it. So this doesn't apply to packaging. I just wanted to mention that. And then finally, communication requirements. So companies, there's already been a requirement for companies to notify their certification bodies if there's been a problem. But now we're being a little bit more specific on this and require companies to notify their certification body within 3 days, of a serious event or a serious situation. We've had lots of experience of serious events over previous years, and I think the food industry needs to be applauded for the way that it did come through the adverse situation of the pandemic. But these still can arise, whether it's war, strikes, terrorism, flood, earthquake, that could jeopardize food safety within the manufacturing facility. And so if these do arise, then companies need to notify their CB. And then also serious situations that may arise from a recall or some sort of legal proceedings that's having an impact on the manufacturing company. So this is all in the interests of transparency and maintaining the compliance in the food safety in the food chain. There's a couple of other changes. There will be a need to review audit duration, and that's all part of the redefined requirements in ISO 22003. So some audit times might go up, some might go down, but that we need to look at that on an individual situation with your certification body. There's an adjustment for the use of ICT, which is the role of remote audits. It's not possible now to do a fully remote audit unless there is a serious event. And then if there is a need to offer a full remote audit, then there will be a need to meet a full remote audit addendum. There is an option to do blended audits. Surveillance audits or recertification audits can be done as partially remote and partially on site, and those are going to be all the requirements and the specifications for that are included in Annex 5. So that is still going to be possible, but a full remote is only going to be possible in the situation for category F2. There's a need for, there's a change in the reporting requirements reports have to meet the standard report format. And then, as I mentioned already, the need to add a QR code to the certificate, and that's all in the interests of maintaining security and compliance of the certificates. So support for all our organisations, we do have a very detailed change document on our website. So if you're currently running a 5.1 and you're considering the move to version 6, or you're undergoing evaluation for version 6, we do have a change document which has all the details included in red. So you'll see the differences between the additional requirements that you're currently working from and those of version 6. We also have published an upgrade process, so that's also online. So most situations should be covered, and it should provide guidance, and you can work through the upgrade process with your certification body to help you transition to version 6. So hopefully that's all clear. And we're upgrading our guidance document. So again, in support of all our certified organisations, we do have guidance documents already. But because of the update of the version and some subtle changes to some requirements, there will be new documents, new guidance documents. I think they've already been published. We've got new guidance on food fraud, food defence, environmental monitoring, and these will be on the website already. And then we will be producing new guidance documents to meet the new requirements in coming weeks. So the upgrade process, the schedule for the upgrade process is as detailed here. So version 6, as you'll probably be aware, was published earlier this year, and it was published on March 31st. And so we have a year for everybody to become familiar, for us to work with you, to tell you about the changes, to explain our rationale, which I hope I've been able to do today, over the next year. And then as from the end of March in 2024, all audits from 1st of April onwards will be conducted to version 6. So any surveillance audit, recertification audit will be conducted to version 6 after 1st of April 24. And upgrades can be conducted unannounced. They can be, as I said, updated as a surveillance audit or a recertification audit. And all audits need to be version 6 by the 1st of April 2025. And after the 1st of April 2025, all version 5.1 audits will be withdrawn, certificates will be withdrawn. And as I said, the upgrade process is detailed in full on the website, along with the guidance documents. I hope all that information will be quite clear. So just while we have the opportunity, well, we've still got a couple more minutes, I just wanted to share some other updates on FSSC. So what we have, in order to, well, as part of our mission to help organisations contribute to their sustainability goals and create a better world, we have published FSSC 24000, which is our social sustainability management system. And this is to assure organisations provide safe and fair working conditions, meet business ethic requirements, and apply due diligence in their supply chain. And this is on the ISO, the common framework, the harmonized framework of the ISO management system. So it will align well with FSSC 22000. And if you're interested in looking into this, it's on the website. There is a dedicated tab to FSSC 24000. We have certification bodies that are now listed that can offer FSSC 24000, and they would be pleased to hear from you if you want to look into that. We also have FSSC On-Site, which is our digital tool, and this is aimed at increasing the transparency of the FSSC certified supply chain. And the idea is that you subscribe to On-Site and you have greater access to the list of certified organisations. You can produce your own list, and then you can favourite them and have notice of any change in certificate status. So it allows you to maintain compliance of your FSSC certified supply chain without having to keep going into the register. We can notify you of any certificate change. So it allows you to keep update and keep sort of better vision, if you like, visibility of the certified certificates, the organisations that have FSSC certificates. And I hope that that will be helpful. It is part, again, of our feedback from our stakeholders, what people are looking for, what they need, and it helps, I hope it helps us keep relevant and meet the needs of the industry. So I'd forgotten I'd got these two slides at the end. So as I said, we talked about the management system approach of both FSSC 22000 and FSSC 24000, and they align. So again, it's all hopefully meeting sort of the FSSC 24000 meets social objectives, FSSC 22000 meets food safety objectives, and these are all aligned with other ISO management systems such as 9001 for quality management, ISO 27000 for information security management, and 45000, and so on. So this is not the fully comprehensive list of the ISO management systems. There are many more. All management systems now are going to be written to the harmonized structure, so they all have that benefit of being on that same framework and are integratable within your operation. And then finally, the on-site, the key features of FSSC on-site, it provides access to that public register. So the register is already public. Anyone can go to our website free of charge to look and see which organizations have FSSC 22000 certification. But by being subscribed to on site, you get real-time data. So if any of the validity of the certificates change, you will be notified. And we believe that it just adds to sort of openness and transparency and add to your efficiency and part of our own continuous improvement. And with that, I think I'm going to close and take any questions. Or Chris, do you want to come in and ask any questions or add anything if you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure, thanks so much. You know, another great presentation. Sorry, I just had to move here. I've got some road construction going on today, so I've had to relocate my office. But I had a question come through to me personally. So regarding the new agents and brokers, the traders and brokers. So the question was, if they don't have a physical site to inspect, what does the process flow or what does the audit look like if the office itself is remote employees that are just trading things from the commodities market? In the past, it says in the past they've been told that without a physical location they couldn't be audited.
I don't think I can answer that question. I think that I have to take that back. I'm not, you know, it is a very new addition, and I'm not in a situation to answer it. So I can take that back and get the information back for you.
Yeah, and you know, for anyone that's in the audience, if you have any questions and you haven't had time to submit them through the chat feature here online, you know, feel free to email me directly. You can email Jacqueline directly with any questions after the webinar. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you. With that though, Parker, if you could jump in and take any questions from the audience, that would be great.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have one question here already. As for analysis and evaluating the results of quality control parameters, what are the quality parameters to be covered?
So they again, it would depend on what you're manufacturing, but they're kind of like weight, color, shape, viscosity. So it really depends on what your product is. So you will review, you know, your key elements of quality that are important for your customer, and also for the safety of your product, and then they will be incorporated in that policy. And then you'll be monitoring those, measuring them, verifying, you know, the equipment that you're using also, so your weighing machines, your viscometers, to ensure that they are also maintained and providing the answer that you need. So it's a policy to select specific those that are specific to you, but there are within the requirements some suggestions and some examples, but they will be relevant to you and for you to control.
Okay, the next question is, we've recently contacted Perry Johnson for CDFA compliance. Can I bundle this with my FSSC certification?
That's to you,
Yeah,
Chris.
so I'll jump in for that one. So while the CDFA or Proposition 12 is a newer program that does require distributors to be certified, at this time it's brand new. The initial rollout is really just now taking place with a deadline of January of next year. So currently there's no integration. Our auditors, of course, are cross-trained and can most certainly perform, both standards while they're there. But as far as any sort of duration breaks, no, not at this time. If that's something that happens in the future, that's a possibility, kind of like what Jacqueline mentioned with, taking responses from the stakeholders and, general public for any new additions. So that's something that is always evaluated, but currently, no.
Okay, we just have one last question. Does the new quality control element replace FSSC-Q?
No, it doesn't. So FSSC Q, as I said, is the integration of the 9001 quality management system and FSSC 22000. So that's a whole management system that would run alongside FSSC 22000. So the quality control elements really are just the quality elements that are related to food safety. So it's not extensive. It's just an added element that we believe are, as I said earlier, connected to food safety, and food fraud as well. I mean, it's relevant to that. If you suddenly find the products coming through blue, it should be a nice toasty brown. So it's there's something amiss. So it's to alert you to be aware of those quality parameters, to have a plan to monitor them, to meet your customer requirements, but just in a small compact area. It's not intended to replace the whole of 9001, which is a full quality management system. But thank you for the question.
Okay, absolutely. Well, that's all the questions we have today. The contact info is on the screen, as well as Chris, if you have any other questions, you can always direct them after the webinar, but thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Parker. Thank you, Jacqueline. Always a pleasure.
And you, thank you. Talk to you soon.